Hello YouTube, Ronan Kazi, The Division, and Destiny 2 compared. Well, when I first started playing Destiny 2 again, kind of really what happened, I don't know when the games came out, but I was always a Division player. I played Division 2, then I kind of got tired of it. I think I got Destiny 2. I didn't know how to advance past the soft cap. That's Roxy! And then I went back to Division 2, and then I wanted to cross-play. Can't cross-play on the Division 2, so I went back to Destiny. When I went back to Destiny at first, it was amazing on how different the games were to me. It seemed completely different. And there are a few differences, and let's go over those real quick. Number one is fantasy future, kind of more realistic, and one is fantasy future, not so realistic. You know, one's more in the future, one could have been 2 years ago. But the Division agents, if you look at in the framework of traditional MMOs, you have magic users and you have melee users. You know, you have physical damage and skill damage. And you have that in Destiny also. What kind of breaks that off is number one, Destiny has kind of the clothes you wear give you different, that's where you kind of build your stats, your traditional stats. And then you get these powers that kind of can really change the nuance. Division 2, the clothes you wear kind of change everything. So you put on a new set of clothes and they do different things, and that's how you're getting your differences. And you also have like an overarching kind of, you know, your specialty. And there's some changes in that, but really the kind of big thing is what clothes you're wearing. What's your build? Your build in the traditional sense of you get percentage increases, accenting different areas that you want. And you're like a skill build or, you know, a DPS build. And on your one character, you do all that. Destiny 2, the difference is you have 3 kind of classes. And in those classes, they have kind of a subgenre of powers. And then that's different, but you still are a warlock, a hunter, or a guardian. And in Division 2, you can do all of those kind of things by changing your clothes. The thing I like about Destiny 2, which is a little bit better, is the weapon damage is more consistent in that when you shoot something, it hits it. The Division sometimes, it's like they have a smaller hitbox, or the hitbox doesn't register sometimes. You'll use a sniper rifle and just won't register damage. Kind of the gameplay you're seeing right now, I'm on the left. I'm in a heroic. We're doing bounties, and I'm kind of roaming here in Destiny 2, and you can pick up kind of missions and roam around. And there's bounties also that you can do from different quest givers, and it's more like, you know, you kill this many things with a bow, it increases stuff. You're gaining all that. I haven't done a lot of crafting, but in one sense, in Destiny 2, it seems a lot more customizable. In Division 2, you just got to get the clothes. You can eventually upgrade your clothes, but if it doesn't have the rolls, if it doesn't have the pieces you want on it, that's just it. You know, you're kind of stuck. So if you're looking for a crit hit, crit damage in the Division, and it doesn't have it, it just doesn't have it. There's not a lot you can do about that. You can re-roll one of them, or one. You have, you know, 4 different things you can change on most pieces of armor. on the important ones on the backpack and the chest piece. So I can either change the core attribute, so I'm either skill, it's one of the 3 classes, it's what makes them similar, red, yellow, blue. I can change that, but then I can't change anything else. Or I can change one of the ancillary attributes, or on a chest piece and a backpack, I can change the talent on there. And though both are interesting, and at first, it's just different, but the Destiny build seems, not as robust. But as you get into it, it's very robust. You can really customize things. And I look to myself a lot of times, they make some of these kind of skills where you can play it just like a shooter, but you also have this other element that makes it really good. You can put shields, and it's more mobility. It's more 3-dimensional. I'll have to tell you, everyone that comes from the Division to Destiny that I've talked to, that I've watched, the people that have kind of made the journey, we all have the same thing. Looking up in the Z, right, there's 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z. Z is the up and down. Looking up and down in Destiny is critical, not so much in the Division. Again, the reference in the Division it's more like what you're used to in real life, so when it's appropriate to look up, you look up. And in Destiny 2, it's just a different environment. As I've played it more and I play the game, those cues are all there. And what's alike about them, they're both loot shooters. Destiny 2 is less looty. And the equipment is more important, as you go up. In the Division 2, you get to a point and then you're doing some different things. Both are really great games. Both are very similar, but they're also very different. And what I'd say is, basically, what doesn't change in these two? And that's you. Because if you have a good game style, you're going to be able to play in both these games. And by good game style, you're not always rushing in. A difference for me is in the Division 2, all of the content that is less than legendary, to me, is very easy. So I just turn off any thinking and I just do whatever I want. In legendary, I'm very focused on doing specific things. When I run into Division 2 or the Division on a challenging subway, I get back into that mode where there's a very specific way to do things. You can do whatever you want, but you'll be more successful doing some things rather than others. And there's not an order to them, but you just got to keep in mind. And you see at this point, I've taken this boss on the left and I've taken them downstairs. You normally wouldn't do that. And I'm running around in a circle and my turret's getting them. And I really am not going to die. My partner comes in and takes care of them. One thing, going in different areas, Destiny 2 has to keep the idea that you're traveling to different places. You kind of can fast travel to places, but then when you leave a planet, you get in a ship and go on. You have vehicles in Destiny 2. And so some of the things in the Division, at one point you're thinking it's kind of more realistic, but in actuality, there's just as much fantasy kind of in it. You can fast travel, you don't really die, you respawn in your place, and both have some of those kind of mechanics. So which game should I play? I'd say play both. The Division, if you get it on sale once you get it, there's no monthly fee. The Destiny 2, once you get it, there's no monthly fee. You might want some of the expansions, but I mean, you can get a good taste of it for, if it's a cost, it's nominal. And so what you're going to find, your gameplay is going to start manifesting to each game. So you're going to start having bigger kind of things that you do. One of the things that I liked about the Warlock class is that there's a skill called Devour that when you do some of those skills, you can get your health back. And so you can do the same kind of thing in the Division too. And then in other games, you can leech and do that kind of thing. So what happens as you become a game player, you start having a style. And I think it would be hard to play completely different styles in all the different games. In the Division, in Division 2, and every game I play, I usually like to have pets if I've never played the game before, or robots or turrets or something else. Just makes the gameplay easier. As I get the game, as I get in it, I want it to be harder, so I want to I want to break the game. I want to do things that developers don't want you to do. So in Division 2, I'm at that point. In Destiny 2, I'm getting to that point where there's a play style that works for me. But all of these games kind of protect you from yourself. So a long time ago, when these genre of games, RPGs, came out, they let you put your skills in any place that you wanted. And there was a thing called gimping yourself. So you would have such little concept of how to play the game that you would put points. For example, let's say in D&D, in a tabletop game, and you're a wizard, but you're going to be a strength-based wizard that fights people with his fist and then cast spells. Like, the games are not made for that, because you get so many penalties for having strength and not maximizing your intelligence. So a strategy in these games is min-maxing. In real life, you shouldn't min-max, because what that does, that leaves you very lopsided in society. So let's say I'm an engineer and I really believe in engineering and I'm in it all the time. It makes me hard to deal with people because I relate more to things versus technology. Conversely, if you're only a people person and you're only doing that, technology, really technical things are going to baffle you. And so in real life, I would argue that to be successful all the way around in all facets of your life, relationships, work, rearing children, raising children, interfacing with people, it's better to be well-rounded. And recently I was at a event where there was a bunch of men and women, and listening to the women and watching them talk and listening to the men and thinking about the difference. I think in general, women are smarter than men. They have a broader understanding of a lot of things. And I think men tend to not saying women can't focus and not saying men can't be general, but men, when they focus, they get tunnel vision and can focus on things. And sometimes that's good. But think about all the bad things that happens. Like, if you're that way and you have a family, you're ignoring your family because you're so focused on, trying to do this thing. And maybe that's just something from, God forbid, evolution or olden times, whichever cosmological origin story you want to give the human race. But maybe those are remnants from the past, or maybe that's kind of how we're hardwired. And again, I heard something the other day and it made me pause on it. I've been saying that I think like intelligence is a continuum, and I think a lot of things are a continuum. And I took pause because a group of people made continuum like a bad thing, like that's a bad thing. And I don't think it's that, but I haven't heard enough of that. I don't want to insult people by saying that, I think life is a continuum. When I look at colors, it's a continuum. Does anyone know what color red is? Do you know what color it is? You don't, because it's a frequency, right? It's a frequency that we've decided. Furthermore, we don't see all the same red. We don't have all the same receptors. In general, red is red is red. But that's why you have monitors that have Adobe accredited colors that reproduce the colors the same, right? Again, there's so much randomness in the world that we have to put order around for it to make it make sense. Yet it's not so random that we can't move through life. It doesn't paralyze us. Sometimes you just say good is good enough. And so getting back to the games, these games are different, but at the end, you're going to it scratches the same itch. And that itch is the game on the right, I'm trying to get to 1800. And the game on the left, I'm trying to get to whatever the equivalent of 1800 is in that game, which I think I've got. I have a build that for me, I nearly always default. I run every content, and it's great. And what's interesting is I don't like the other two classes in Destiny. I only like the Warlock class. And I'm sure that it's a narrow focus to have three classes to judge everyone in humanity by, but I do believe, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm thinking about if you had like 9 character classes, if you could get people. A long time ago, my son started working at a pizza place, and then he said to me one night, there's only 7 types of people. And I've heard that before, and he may have heard that from me and regurgitated it back to me, but I'm pretty sure he sees enough people in a pizza place to kind of characterize people in general. And that's unfair to everyone because everyone has some nuances. But again, if you're in a class of people, not class in the British sense or the Indian sense or the sense of I'm a banker, I'm a lawyer, whatever. Class in that I'm a rogue, that I'm a paladin, I'm an archetype class. I wonder how people fit in that. And even in those classes, there's variations. And I also want you to think about basically what games are. Games are simulations. Games are modeling some type of behavior. So where do we get that? We're modeling after real life. So even if there's one in a fantasy, they model the type of behaviors people may have in those situations. And the same thing with the builds in the division. Everyone wants to be unique. But in some senses, you're not. And this gets kind of close to that deterministic kind of thing, which you can say there's not a wide variety. People are infinitely diverse until they're not. So there's a lot of paradoxes in all of that. But the horrible thing that's going to come here, it's going to happen so fast, I'm going to tell you ahead of time. I've been in that group on the right running heroic bounties nonstop with them. And eventually they kicked me. So in the next couple minutes on the left, you're going to see I get kicked. And on the right, I'm doing an open world thing where there's an event and I'm working with another person, and that person doesn't kick me. Not that he could kick me, but that's kind of what I like about Destiny 2. There's just things you can do with other people. You don't have to have a group. And I look at both of those guys, and they're both running the same type of build. Right? So maybe they're friends, and they just didn't like what I was doing, which was winning. So, I don't know. It seems pretty muddled because there's not a real clear distinction. Yes, there's some obvious differences, but when you get beneath the layer, there's not. And that's funny because we're all human beings and, there's obvious differences, but once you get below there. And there's one last thing I'm going to touch. First off, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification if you want some more of this content. This is Destiny and Division 2. But recently, I had an event that I was hosting, and we had suicide prevention people come in. And I don't know how to market that, right? It's a tough topic for me to market because I don't know what to say. And we had some really great speakers come in and talk, and it really resonated. A lot of people were giving their opinions and sharing their stories and their feelings, and it was great. And I mentioned something about, hey, we should do this activity, but we don't have them and whatever. And one of the people that was at that meeting said, that's the first meeting I ever came to, and that topic was perfect for me right then. They were on doing something else, went online, was searching for yarn, and then found a game that I'd mentioned maybe we should play. So that's a coinky dink or what? We'll talk about more of that later. Thank you, YouTube. Appreciate you. I'm about to be kicked. I haven't been kicked in a long time. There it was, kicked. Ronakazi out.